What is going on? This is Michael Hacker with the Hacker Outdoors podcast. I am joining you today live for this introduction again. I think that went out pretty well last week. Today I am joined by both Brian Hacker and Joey McCormick. We talk a little bit about Joey's upcoming tournament and, of course, getting into EDC and prepping in general. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, leave us a comment, a like, and without further ado, I don't even know where to begin, gentlemen. Thank you for joining me. Everyone at home, thank you for listening, watching, wherever it is you podcast or vlog. Um, some feelings today going on, right? Nice weather. Getting ready for the goodness of springtime. Joe, you are headed out when, on Friday or Saturday?
Saturday.
Saturday, and where are you going?
Potomac River.
And whereabouts in the Potomac River?
We launched from Smallwood State Park, so where we always launch at. South of DC, Maryland, Southern Maryland kind of area. I forget the exact name of the town. I have to look it up. But that is an American Bass Anglers Association event, not an FLW event. Next BFL I have is Santee Cooper on March 27th.
So what does the format look like? Is it the same?
For the boaters it is. For the coes it's 3 fish, which I not a huge fan of.
No. Why?
Feels kind of cheap to me. I don't know. 5 fish limit, it feels more like doing the real thing. I don't see why it should be different for the co-anglers than the boaters. It makes me relax too much once I get 3 in the boat. Like, I don't know. It's just a different kind of game. Makes you think differently.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, in the BFL, I mean, 5 fish, you're grinding all day, and you want to keep upping it, but you can get 3 fish so quick. I mean, I don't know, it feels different to me. It's in Mulberry, Maryland, is what it's called.
Okay.
Mulberry State Park, yeah.
And you can run up and down the Potomac as
you
far as you want to?
All the way up into DC, then all the way down. I mean, pretty much, if you wanted to the mouth of the ocean, like if you really wanted to run that far. But yeah, pretty much. There's some off limits, which usually is around the takeoff area. So besides that, you could really run anywhere you wanted to, as long as you're back in time for weigh-in. So.
And what is your game plan for this? We can get into a little bit on notes from the field on Friday or whatever, but
well, it's been cold up here. Today was the first warm day. And it seems like the bite's turning on down there from what I hear. Saturday, what are they calling for? Yeah, so it's supposed to be warm all through the week, and of course on Saturday they're saying 52 degrees. So, they should still be pretty active, getting ready to spawn. They're going to be pre-spawn, definitely. Moving baits, swim jigs, chatterbaits, lipless crankbaits, stuff like that.
All right, well, we'll get
and the finesse. I'll throw the finesse too, but I would say most people are going to be throwing like lipless cranks, swim jigs, chatterbaits, that type of stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll get a full report on that, and then after, hopefully we aren't talking about how cold it is, because it will be beautiful out on Saturday.
I'm doubtful.
You're doubtful on the weather?
I'm doubtful that it's going to be warm, but we'll see. I just got to make it through that, and once I get down to South Carolina on the 27th, it will be short weather down there when I get down there.
Yeah, Brian's.
I was trying to find there's an article today I saw this morning when I was drinking my coffee. They were talking about how the COVID year, how it affected the fishing industry, and I'm trying to dig it up, but I can't find it. So it might be a next time we talk conversation. But I think it's on India.com or.
It made a lot more people fish, is what it did.
That's exactly what they're saying. Yeah, they're saying that basically it saved the local economies when it came to buying lures and tackle.
Oh, yeah, you couldn't get anything anywhere.
Yeah, they're saying the local tackle shops were crushing it all last year into this past holiday season.
I think it's all outdoors, outdoor things. I went to local ski shop here, and I was looking for a jacket a couple weeks ago, and I guess 2 weeks ago now, and the woman in there was like, we couldn't keep anything on the shelves. She's like, we sold out of literally everything. She goes, she's like, we're usually busy, but this year was just an exception to the amount of busyness. She's like, we sold out of everything. I was looking for a specific jacket that they didn't have. And she's just like, no, she's like, we couldn't keep it on the shelves.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I go to Susquehanna Tackle, which is a huge tackle shop. And all the years before, I mean, he was always well stocked. But last year, I mean, it was very slim pickings. And also, what happened was the companies who manufactured in the United States, so along with the big boom, they were shut down. Some of them because of the state shut down, and the fishing industry, I guess, was not considered
non-essential.
Non-essential. So then you had that on top of it. And I know for a fact there's some companies who are still having troubles filling orders because of just how much they sold out, and I guess the time off. So
yeah,
it's a good and bad thing.
Yeah, it's good for the industry, but I think it's bad for the fisheries, right? I think it's bad for the outdoor environment in general, right? We talked a little bit about hiking and the sheer amount of trash that I've found everywhere that I've been this year. I mean, you have places, and it's very short-sighted on the government side of shutting bathrooms in public parks. People are going to use bathroom if there is no bathroom, right? They're going to leave their trash everywhere. You can use the woods, and yeah,
Well, the funny thing that you mentioned, that Smallwood State Park, or I think it's State Park in Mulberry, it's called a trash-free park, right? So you know that's a good
carry
thing.
And carry
you
out.
Think carry and carry out, no trash cans anywhere,
and trash everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
That to me makes no sense. Not to have any trash cans anywhere. Like Murray was a carry in, carry out, but they had like dumpsters before you left at Lake Murray, and there was trash cans you could find to use. But this place, there is none. There's like one area, I don't know if it's going to be there this year, that they had like all contracted, fenced in, that had 2 dumpsters, I guess, for the employees. And if they call it you like going in there, they're like, no, you got to take it with you. I'm like, dude, okay,
all right,
okay.
Yeah, it's one of those things. And speaking of carrying out, we can transition right from there because carry. What do you guys know about everyday carrier EDC world, right? Joe, not EDM. We're not talking about dead mouse. We're talking about EDC.
I'm familiar with South Carolina's and Maryland's.
Well, not firearms. I mean, although that could be, part of it, I think. But like where we live, I think it's a very interesting concept, right? I have a friend of mine who sends me pictures of his EDC every so often, and he lives in we'll call it a more
state?
friendly state.
Oh,
but he takes it pretty seriously, and he sent me an image the other day, and it was he was carrying a pocket knife. He has a flashlight. He's got, of course, his concealed carry. He's got his wallet. He's got his lip balm. He's got all these things that go in it. And I thought to myself, I said, I hate stuff in my pocket. And I think Brian's kind of shaking his head. Yes,
I'm like you,
or not, and you too, Joe. Yeah, because it. I don't know, man. Like I think and I got this here actually. I have it on my desk here. This is probably one of the only things that I carry daily, and I use this nonstop. This is my Swiss Army knife. I've had this thing for 15 years, and I use it all the time. Now, once again, depending upon where I'm going, this is what I'm carrying on me, along with some chapstick and my wallet. But that's it. Like very minimalist wallet. Brian, you. Given the
I'm the same way. I carry a very small, the same size pocket knife, and I would say 9% of the time I don't carry chapstick, just that and a cell phone in my wallet. But my wallet is just a few cards and some little bit of petty cash. But it's what more would you need to carry? If I have to take my backpack somewhere, my backpack is always packed with. I put a little flashlight and just like something like that.
Yeah,
flashlight.
But that's a little bit different, right? When you
Yeah.
have to carry a bag, like you start to talk about the whole world of, get home bags and, get out of Dodge or bug out bags, right?
Yeah, bug out bag. Yep.
Those are all different topics, and you kind of plan somewhat accordingly. When you go down that guess that rabbit hole. I mean, there's so much stuff in there that's just crazy.
I have a buddy who his pockets like around his waist look like Rambo. So this is a Benchmade knife. You guys can't see the size, but yeah, I don't know, 4 inches. He carries 2 of these.
Yeah.
Light flashlights. And this is a heavy flashlight. He always has 2 of these on him. I mean, this is all in his belt. So he'll have one in his, like, back to your cargo pants, Mike. He'll have one in the bottom cargo pants, one in the top cargo pants. He'll have his Benchmade, like 2 of his Benchmades on his belt loop. Then on the other side of his belt holder thingy, he's got cell phone, like tactical purse, and then he's got like some special wallet.
It's a tactical purse. Let's get it right.
It's a tactical purse, and then he's got some crazy ass wallet he carries that is a tactical thing. But that's how he is. Everything he does, he's gonna have all the goofy. I call him goofy. All the goofy attachments, like.
And I'm not knocking people that do this, right?
I'm not. It's just not for me.
It's not for me, but what do you like? I always think Brian and I always quote right. What do you need protection from? Is it Germans? Like, I like for that. I mean, once again, I get it. Like people who, it's a big constitutional thing, and I'm trying to steer away from the whole gun conversation pretty seriously here for a moment. But like when you start to talk about carrying, we'll go back to pocket knives, like multiple pocket knives. Like, well, for what purpose? What are you going to do with 2 or 3 pocket knives? And even a flashlight. Like, look, like most places I go, like I've got my iPhone. Like I look, like for what I need, that's perfect. Like I don't need anything a little bit deeper than that. But I do think that there is something to be said, when you are traveling and you have, your car, and I keep a backpack in my car and I have some extra clothes in there and things like that. Like prepping for the inevitability or the, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for the potential of something happening. That's a little bit different than, on-person carry and on-person, everyday carry, right? Like, I think we all kind of agree here because of the type of people we are. I like being light and fast, right? Like I don't want to be weighed down. I don't want my pants to be weighed down. I don't feel comfortable. I mean, if I could be wearing basketball shorts every day, I think that I would be, and I think the 2 of you would, or at least
I have them on right now.
And that's just unrealistic. But I follow these guys on Instagram, and there's a bunch of great guys, and a lot of them live in a lot of, we'll say, Western states. And rightfully so there, where they have a little bit more freedom than we do here on the East Coast. They tend to carry a lot more things. And one of the guys posted something about prepping the other day. And I thought it was kind of interesting because of the world that we live in. I thought, when things kind of hit the fan here, right? The S hit the fan here with everything going on with COVID. People were freaking out, right? They went to the grocery store. They were, stockpiling toilet paper, just really no rhyme or reason as to what they were doing. And this guy, a former Green Beret, I'll link to him. He's got a website, Fieldcraft Survival. He has kind of built this whole environment of people that do different types of training, firearms, knife training, outdoor training, things like that. So he had a woman on that was talking about prepping. And it made me realize, like, we always keep water in the house, right? Like bottles of water. But when and if something was hit the fan, right, that water is probably not going to last very long. That stuff doesn't have a shelf life, really, right? And I was thinking to myself, I said, as prepared as I like to think that I am, I don't think that I am as prepared as I should be, right? Now, Joe, you and I, we talked a little bit about prepping previously, I think because of the shows that we watch. And Brian, I know you have a little bit of food and stuff like that in your house, but do you do anything, or have you ever thought of what that looks like? And in, I guess, pre-COVID world, if you were a prepper, we'll say, you're kind of looked down on and people thought you were insane, right? Like, right? Like
Most people think preppers are insane. Yeah, I mean,
right.
Because some of the scenarios they come up with more than likely aren't going to happen.
100%. Yeah.
I think sometimes it's better to know how to survive than so much than stock your house full of this stuff, because and my buddy who has all those crazy clips on his belt, that's one good thing he does. He does have his prep bag, but that bag is what you take if you're bugging out. Like, that's it. And in that bag contains things for subsistence of life, that you can use to live and survive, Sometimes I think it's a better idea than buying like 8,000 barrels of, I don't know, pick whatever you want to pick, pickles or whatever, the preppers are going to, prep with, because how are you going to defend your house? I mean, that just puts you in a whole other ball field. I mean, A, if you have to leave, how are you going to take that all with you? You're
Exactly.
not. B, if there's ever this scenario that they think of, people are going to come to your shit and your stuff and try to steal it. So are you going to be able to lock that down and protect it?
Likelihood is no.
Right.
Well, depending on the situation, right?
Right.
But I've started watching Outlander. I don't know if you guys ever watched it.
Yeah, I love Outlander.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch it for years, and I finally got around to it. And for those of you who are unaware, the premise of the story is that this woman and her husband go on a honeymoon. They're in Scotland, and she goes to this ancient ruins, and she touches this thing, and lo and behold, magic happens, and she appears in, what was it, the 16th century Scotland? I think it was 16th, might have been 17th, and she was a nurse during World War II. This happens in the 40s when she winds up going back into the 17th or 16th century, and she luckily has some know-how as to, medicine. And, obviously because she was an army nurse, she knew a lot of things. And they were talking about like valerian root and things like that. It's like, how would you even begin to, like, let's say if things really did hit the fan and you needed to, and let's say you had a bottle of Aleve or a bottle of Tylenol on you, right? And that's all you had. You have, what, 30 pills in there, maybe? Right? 60 pills, 90 pills. It's not going to last a long time. What do you do after that? And it was talking to a buddy down the street here, and he taps trees and he actually gets maple syrup. I said, well, that's kind of cool. I was like, I don't even know if I could identify a maple tree. I can identify animals for the most part, but I can't identify a maple tree.
Yeah, I'm sure you could by the leaf.
Well, yeah, but now this time of year, I'd have no idea.
No,
right?
True.
Like it's kind of crazy to think that, like, all the time that we spend outdoors, you probably wouldn't know what an edible mushroom is compared to an inedible or toxic mushroom. Neither would I.
I spent my formative years being made fun of for being a Boy Scout, but I truly learned all of this stuff from being a Boy Scout as a kid. And that's why I think like there's invaluable lessons to those types of organizations. Yeah, they had their troubles, but like there's certain, like, it doesn't need to be with that, but learning that kind of stuff from a young age from, let's say, someone or family friend, whoever, your own father, whoever, that's the important stuff to me. It's like, all right, we went camping in the middle of winter during a rainstorm, and we're looking at each other, everyone's freezing, me, you, and cousin Mike. And I said, oh, I got this. And I started a fire during a rainstorm while it's windy, when it's freezing cold out, no problem.
That's because you're a fire starter, but that's neither here nor there.
But that's skills that you learn. That's what I'm saying, though. Those like types of survival skills of, whatever is really important. I remember being, a young kid, and I would point at the trees like, oh, this is that type of tree. Oh, this one's birch beet. I'd pull like a branch off and, just start chewing on it. And that's information. I think that's actually important. People should know, you should be, all right, so, if the mushrooms, look this way, you shouldn't have them. I'm not even going to get into mushrooms because
please don't. we don't need that kind of problem.
My friend was a huge Grateful Dead fan, and I know pretty well which ones are the edibles, which ones are the poisonous.
Yeah.
He also grew up in a farm. So, I mean, I'm telling the truth. I mean, he had a book when we were growing up called like Mushrooms, which ones are edible and which ones do what. And that's neither here nor there, but
it's crazy. But even the berry stuff, like think about how the kid from
McCandless.
Yeah, he died up in Alaska because he ate the wrong berries. It's like, all right, if you see animals not eating the berries, you have a problem.
The first part is he didn't even know how to dress an animal, and he would have been to live. Like, I don't know, that whole story, like in itself, I love it, and it's a great story, and he seemed like a great guy. But to me, there was it's frustrating because there's a whole like checklist of why you should not do this if you don't know these things. And it was like, don't know that, and you go do that.
Well, that's where,
to-
Brian, you were saying mentorship. Like that's where a mentorship would have really come in handy. And when you talk about prepping, like you can even take it, like remove kind of the end of the world scenarios for a second and say like,
that's it.
how many times, like I told this story about the friend of mine who got lost up at one of the mountains that I hiked all the time, and she was freaking out and didn't know where she was. Like if you were stuck out there overnight, would you know what to do? Like I think you would know what to do. I think I would know what to do. Plus I think if I could find water, I'd be fine. Like, I can build the shelter. But I don't think that if it's for an extended amount of time with the present knowledge that majority of people have, majority of people wouldn't be able to survive because you're not going to be able to forage. You're not going to know what to do. You're not going to know how to build things that are necessary to survive, right? And that's kind of, I guess, where my
There's an
mind's
old song called "A Country Boy Will Survive," and country boys can survive because they know how to do certain things to survive. I have no doubt if I got lost in the woods and had to stay there for 2, 3, 4 days, I would survive. No doubt. I wouldn't be lost for 2, 3, or 4 days unless I was in some crazy remote area. Then yeah, but not going to happen.
You're not going to get lost in Baltimore County.
No, there's areas by me, like northern Baltimore, that could easily happen, and I'm sure it does, but it wouldn't happen to me. And I know I could survive. I don't have doubt in that. Now, if you put me in somewhere like in Alaska to survive, that would be different. I would have to brush up on a lot of stuff, but
Well, and that's where I think if you're in a place like that, having that firearm becomes incredibly important, right? Like I'm a big proponent, especially in the wilds. You never know what you're going to come across. You need to protect yourself. But like up there, where literally everything can kill you, that's if you're lost up there, and imagine not having a firearm to hunt with or a firearm to protect yourself with, like that, your chance of survival is going to dwindle pretty damn quick.
oh yeah, you're dead. I mean, I don't think there's, I guess you could make a spear and try to spear shit, but they're probably going to eat you before you could kill them. I mean, that's a whole nother world. I mean,
that's going full circle now to last week's episode when we were talking about the edge, right?
Yeah.
Spearing. I think, one of the things that one of my goals long term is to continue to learn, right? Like obviously, like I tend to focus a lot on fishing because that's where my mind is a lot of the time, right? Like fly fishing. But I like to inject a little bit of outside knowledge as well, right? Like I think that reading is part of the story, but part of it also has to be doing and learning from mentors, right? And the more time you spend in the outdoors, the more you realize that you're comfortable, but you truly respect it and understand that this is bigger than you. And you have the ability to, if you're not careful, really have things degrade pretty quickly, right? Yeah, I think I could perform surgery on myself. That's my personal opinion.
Oh, like that guy cut his arm off out in the Midwest.
127 hours, right? Yeah.
Wild. With the pocket knife the size of Michael's knife.
Yeah, this is
I guess your body just goes into such shock. I mean, I've been injured horribly in a car accident, and you go into shock. I mean, you don't feel anything at all. You'll feel it after you're out of the situation. Yeah, then it sets in, but that's the only thing I can figure is that he was just the mind was just in such overdrive. Like, I got to survive. I'm hurt. I'm in shock that I'm not going to feel me sawing my arm off with a pocket knife.
Crazy.
That story is insane. Absolutely insane.
But that's like survival, right? Like you have what it is you learn along the way, right? You have these little skills that are important, but like there's something deep inside all of us, ingrained in our DNA, that just like animals, we watch the videos on Nature is Metal, right, of these animals surviving with horrific wounds and horrific attacks by other animals. And you say at the end of the day, we're just animals, right? Like we have this drive to survive, and we will do what's necessary when we're put in these extenuating circumstances. Now, we've kind of removed ourselves in so many ways that we live in these microcosms, these like beautiful little bubbles where we like to pretend that nothing else exists. But if you remove us from this, I'm pretty sure most people, that fight or flight would kick in. And I think a good portion of people, at least people that we know and people that would probably be listening to this, would be fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So on that, Brian, you have any, since you're up on my screen here right now, anything else you'd like to add on that?
On that, no. I mean, I have some other news and notes in the world
Jump
of
on it.
outdoors. So there's been a big fight about beach replenishment this year. I don't know if you guys saw this. There's a few big fights going on in Jersey. One is about beach replenishment. The other is about the borough deal is trying to sell off the piece of land again at the end of Roosevelt. And I have no problem calling out the spot because it's one of the most known surf spots. But that house that's on the corner there, I guess, has been trying to grab it for years. And they rebuilt that bluff in Deal Joe. I don't remember the spot, but they rebuilt the bluff and it created another. I don't know how big the land is, but it's enough to warrant these people offering millions of dollars for that little chunk of land, which I'm sure that the town could use. But the problem is that at the end of your street, you're supposed to have beach access, right? And that's the federal law. If the road leads to the ocean, it has to provide access to the beach. Not to mention that all of our tax dollars paid for the beach and for that wall and that extra land. So that's a big fight going on.
I don't understand why that goes on. I mean, I really only hear about stuff like this in Jersey. I guess you hear about it occasionally out there, like Malibu and stuff.
Well, California, 100%.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, there are some mega houses down in the Carolinas, and nobody tries to claim like private beach access or anything like that. I personally haven't seen it. Maybe it has happened. I just don't know about it. But this has been going on in Jersey for a while now. I mean,
it's crazy.
I posted on my story, or I should say Hacker Outdoors podcast story on Instagram, I think late last week. It is an issue. We used to see this when we would go up to Rhode Island and even Cape Cod, right? Like you would have people walking literally up your driveway and through your little path through the dunes there to get onto the beach, and you'd be like, who is this person? It's like, oh, it's public access. They can do whatever they want. Like you may own the property, but you have to provide a path in order for them to get to the beach. And I don't think there's anything really wrong with that. I think Deal kind of pisses me off because it seems like every few years Deal goes through this issue, right? Like they try and chip away at one way of stopping or blocking people from accessing the beach, and then that falls through because of lawsuits or whatever, and then they go and they try and do something else. And yes, it's all, you can argue it's one block, okay, fantastic, but that's not the point. And you hit on it. It is, we paid for it. It's the people's beach, so to speak. And it shouldn't be a problem. I mean, yes, it's got to be frustrating looking out your door and seeing surfers, parking
changing
there.
in and out of wetsuits.
Right. But come on, man. Like you live in a multi-million-dollar house. And
that's part of living at the beach. That's something you sign up for when you live at the beach. I can tell you where our condo is. Every block has 2 access points to the beach. And even when you go back a street, like the houses that are back there, they have like little walkways between the houses that are public access to the beach. Like there's never, if you watched the movie with John Candy called Summer Rental back in 1980,
freaking movie, man. Yeah.
The house is right by the easement to go to the beach. I mean, you don't own the beach. You don't.
No.
You want to own that part of the beach. The people stop paying taxes on it, and your ass pays for it. In the story, in the question. I don't care if you have $1 million or not. That doesn't give you some special access that other people don't have. I mean, these are the things that go with living in certain areas. Like you knew this when you
signed up for it.
You signed up for it. It's not like, surprise, haha, suckers, we got you. Like clearly you can go look back in time and see that this is how it is. Like I just don't get it. I don't get it.
No. But I will say, we're lucky enough, and I think you hit on it, Brian. We have the Surf Rider Foundation is, obviously involved in this. Thankfully, the New Jersey chapter has done a great job at kind of stopping these kind of problems from happening in the past. And I have no doubt that they will come to some sort of resolution here, but it's just, it's like for everyday people, right? And I would kind of lump myself in there. It's frustrating to hear that and say you're like, come on, man, like just.
For me, the most frustrating part about all this is, I mean, I was surfing Darlington which is one of the beaches in Deal, which is not a
spot.
It's not. I'm not blowing up the spot. It's every spot in the world.
Everybody knows it.
And I was there during Sandy,
right.
when it was 2 feet, and then within 3 hours it was about 10 feet. And I committed most of my adult life surfing that spot, and then I had to move on once they ruined it. But that very next year they dismantled the long jetty that was there. They dismantled the one that was a couple blocks north, and now they're gonna have to keep pumping sand because they got rid of the jetties, and or they shortened the jetties, and the sand flow is just constant. And it's frustrating. The solutions that they're coming up with, like they're going to pump sand again down in Bayhead. They're going to pump sand again up in Monmouth Beach, and it's not fixing the problem. You're putting a Band-Aid on it. And the only way to resolve it is to either not let people build houses on a barrier island, or put in long jetties. And the public should be mad about it, to be honest, because I mean, what, $50 million I think they said it's going to cost to do to beach replenishment just for this year, to repair what was done in 2 nor'easters, just 2 from the winter. There wasn't a heavy winter when it came to storms. So that's $50 million of New Jersey taxpayer money.
No, but you say that, and it's not. I think resonate on that for a moment, because I don't think a lot of people. I have not heard that number, and say it one more time, and make sure that
$50 million.
$50 million just to replenish how many beaches, Brian?
So far, I think what they're going to do is they're going to do from Manasquan all the way up to Sandy Hook again. And they're going to do one at a time. Who knows how far they'll get? I'm sure the more affluent neighborhoods or beaches will get the sand first. Setting it up for the summer months. But this is not going to affect our access as the general public. So you're still going to have to pay your $15 to get onto the beach, or you're going to have to fight for a parking spot in the beach towns that don't pay, that you don't have to pay to get on the beach. And it's, you get your tickets and you pay those too. And it's frustrating.
Well, did you go down? I don't know if you went down this year. Did you go to Point Pleasant?
No. So I think I went on the other side of the river maybe once or twice this summer. I think it was once, actually.
Okay. Yeah, I was down there once.
And did you see the pipes? Did they have the pipes running across the beach and everything? Yeah, Donna had gone down. I don't like venturing that far south for a few reasons. I hate the Dam Parkway. But she said that there were pipes like literally running up and down, like you had to walk over, and they had to create almost like steps and stuff like that. And there's like a huge true cost. I mean, not just dollar amount, but just environmental impact and everything that I think just kind of goes out the window that people don't think about. And I think when you say 50 million, people are like, well, you divvy that up between all the, how many millions of people live in New Jersey. What is it, $5 a person? Well, that's
9 million residents, right? I mean, residents in Jersey.
I think it's something like that, yeah. It adds up, man. That adds up really quickly. Frustrating.
They're going to kill the surf in Jersey is what they're going to do. Yeah. They're going to kill it.
It also ruins the fisheries, and that's another thing. And that's why you see a big unity push for watermen, because they'll all talk about it. On the fishing forums, when they, as soon as they start doing the replenishment, fishing's dead. So you're not going to get summer fluke from the beach. You're not going to get stripers if they start in the early spring. They're all going to push offshore, and it's
right. They're all going to be avoiding the area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because they're going to get sucked up in big pipes and shut out the beach. 8.882 million as of 2019.
882.
New Jersey's one of the heaviest populated. When you think about this, Pennsylvania is a huge state. Pennsylvania has 12.8 million. You guys aren't a big state. You have 8.882 million.
Most densely.
Yeah, most densely populated, yeah.
One of the most densely populated cities, I think, in the country is Gutenberg, New Jersey, which is in, I believe it's in Hudson County. I might be wrong. But yeah, that's just unbelievable. It's a tiny little town, and they have just such a massive amount of people that live there.
Pretty wild.
Yeah. Well, moving on from that, let's keep trucking along. Brian, you said you had a couple things.
Yeah. So the second thing I want to bring up was the World Surf League pulled it off. I don't know if you guys saw this, but somehow they chartered a full 747
I saw this.
and
Yeah.
piled in every surfer and every member of the WSL. So every film crew member, everybody that passed a COVID test. A few people failed, by the way, but everyone that passed, loaded them on the plane with all their bags. They had to pay for their seats, so the WSL did not pay for the seats, and the price is ridiculous. The economy was like $4,500 or something like that. So if like you were bringing your wife, you paid for 2 seats. Like that's how this worked. And they flew out to Australia. Australia said you can make it work as long as they designated a hotel for them and said everyone that flies in has to stay in their hotel room for 14 days. And as long as they test okay throughout that 14 days, multiple times, and then they can run the comp, and all these people can enter the comp and set up whatever they have to do. So they pulled it off.
Can I ask a question on this, because I didn't see this? Yeah. They couldn't leave their hotel room, or they couldn't leave the hotel?
I think it's hotel.
Right.
They didn't say.
I don't think I could be cooped up in a hotel room for 14 days, man.
You see all these all these superstar surfers. They're posting their hotel rooms with their assault bikes and all their Pilates gear and whatever they're doing. And Kolohe and it was like it's a picture of him like going like this in the sun with his arms up, and it says get my daily sun in. They're in Sydney somewhere. I think it's Sydney or Perth. I can't remember.
I would be skipping it. I wouldn't care. I would. Well, no way.
Kelly is injured again. He said his feet. I was like, yeah, right. Kelly was not going to sit in a hotel for 2 weeks.
No.
I'd go nuts. I couldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to me, because if you tested negative before you left, and everybody on the plane has tested negative before you left, and they put these stringent guidelines on to get onto that plane, why the hell would they not just test you when you got there again and be like, they're negative, and let them go? Like, why stick these people in a hotel for 14 days and torture the shit out of them when they went through this strict beeping protocol to get there? Like, I would be Kelly Slater. I'd be like, dude, I got to hang now. I'm on injured reserves. Peace, brother. You have fun.
I'm going to Bali. I don't know. Me as a fan, whatever. These guys get paid enough money. I want to see them surf in 3 weeks, and I hope there's a huge cyclone that rolls through for the first comp, because I want to see giant barrels and pure blue water.
Amen to that.
So
I want to see
Mikey. I want to see Mikey Wright's his mullet.
He's got badass
in all its glory. Did you hear he's doing a mullet campaign because the schools in Australia are saying that you can't have mullets anymore?
I didn't hear that, but I love his mullet.
It's so funny.
I mean, I don't know. I do feel for them though, because that was a hassle just to get there. The stuff they had to do just to get there. I don't know. That's another conversation for another day, and just gets me fired up.
I think so. The constant conversation is, what if the WSL fails? So not in like fails getting contests on. I mean, like, what if they just don't exist anymore? What's next? And the common thought is Surfing Australia, which runs the most competitions in the world, they would just take over and make their own world tour, which would probably be a little more effective, because then you have a big government behind it to make sure that permits and everything are sought to right around the world. And, it becomes more of a government body. It makes you wonder if because are more sports run that way?
I
don't know, and I don't like that. I don't
like.
No,
they aren't. What would happen is somebody. There's always this, like, there was a World Surf League before. It was called something different. It wasn't
ASP.
Always ASP. Somebody else would buy it and restart it, and that's just how it works. I mean, fishing can be a pure example of how that works. I mean, they fold, somebody else comes and it's new, and it's good.
Do you remember, Joe? Do you remember when you had the shop back in the day, back in the late 90s?
Yeah.
There was always the talk about the Dream Tour.
Yeah.
And it was like when they started going to the, they stopped at some point going to, like, they would go to G-Land, they would go to, they would do Tavora, Fiji, they would do, to surf Cloud Break, they would do all the dreamy spots. But the reason why they could, because there's less guys. So the common thought now in WSL, and we're digging deep down into world surfing, is, well, 36 surfers on the male side, and I think it's 22 on the female side. It's just too many to run a contest in good waves, and it's just too expensive to get people everywhere and set up the associations, right, or the permits or whatever they got to do. So if they fail and they made a very small tour and like a smaller, let's say, like a qualifying series, WQS, which they run.
Yeah, but the WQS goes all over the world.
Yeah,
they
which
say
is
that,
still cool.
But they take the tons of guys on that
Yeah.
tour. So them saying this argument doesn't make sense to me. Like back in the 80s, you don't remember this, B, when they would have surf comps, first off, they weren't in the winter. They were throughout the year. So these guys would be going to like Santa Cruz or some beach break in California in August with knee-high waves, and there'd be like 200,000 people on the beach with spectators, paid spectators, and they had huge. I mean, they were making money, was flying out their asses, and they were saying the same thing, like, "Oh, we're going to have to fold," But meanwhile, that company just like profited $9 billion that year. It's like, yeah, we got to fold. They're sticking money down their shirt. Like, do you remember when Hurley bought Nike? Nike bought Hurley. Everybody's like, "Oh, what sellouts, Hurley? Such sellouts. There's huge sellouts." Now, dude. I mean, everybody went to Nike. Like they'll be fine. I think that's just a whole bunch of posturing. Is what I think it is. It's a whole bunch of posturing. They have no real competition. What's the competition in the WSL? Who's their competitor?
I don't think there is.
There isn't one. Like
no.
They own the game. They own the game.
The thing I could see happening, and I thought about this recently because we didn't get to talk. Chance to talk about this. I don't think me and you, Joe, but that the Travis Rice series that he's running, where they, I forget what they call it again, but where
Red Bull sponsors it.
Yeah, the Red Bull sponsors it. They get they go and they just do a giant line and then they score them. And McMorris won it. I could see something like that happening. So it'd be like, all right,
that's the thing. If WSL stopped, Red Bull would. I would bet money Red Bull would be one of the companies saying, all right, we'll start our own World Surf League. We'll go to Cloudbreak, Cavaroo, Pipeline. Boom, done. Volcom. I mean, Volcom Pipe Pro. I mean, these companies, there would be something else that steps into place that would be just as profitable and make just as much money. And I can't see where the WSL is losing money, especially in the world of social media now, and probably just the money on advertising dollars they're making through their YouTube channel. It's probably more than you and I and Michael can imagine. It's off the charts. Like
without a doubt, 100% without a doubt.
You look at the views. Like they do that weekly thing now in WSL. It's like Mick Fannin and like 3 other people, and they talk about like the week's events. I mean, that's getting like almost 1 million views every week. So
I miss watching Mick surf.
So do I. So if these companies are saying they're having financial issues, they need to look in house. Is the big deal, because how many guys are on the tour? So you got, was it 35 guys?
I think it's 36 and 18, right? Isn't that what it is?
So let's say maybe less than 100, so 75 to 100 people. If they can't afford to run a league with 100 people in it, I mean, you have all these other leagues who do it, and I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I think that there's something else going on there that they need to take a deep, hard look at themselves.
Because Brian and I watch these comps, and I mean, how many people, when you're watching these streams, they're through the roof with the amount of people watching them. Like,
they clog up the bandwidth sometimes. They actually show
exactly.
It's like, the first round had like 10 million for the Pipeline one. It's like, I don't think there's 10 million surfers, but there is.
People like, when Pipe comes on, I mean, people who don't surf are watching it. I mean, it's surfing, skating, and so forth is no longer like the outside sport. I mean, back in the day, if you called them sports, these guys would be like, or women would be like, "You're assholes. This isn't a sport." Like skaters and surfers back in the day didn't want to be lumped in with the label of a sport. But now, here we are.
Right.
Just like last year, when they like all the companies were like rearranging all their pros because they're saying they weren't making money because of COVID.
That was their great reset, because they had a moment to realize who wasn't popular, and they could dump them and just keep going with who they had. And I thought that was a move that should have been done in the first
But they were
place.
trying to blame it on like John's contract, another guy's big contract.
No.
But whoever John was sponsored for, John made them money. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well-
I think there's somebody in that industry who's making lots of money, and they're just, they don't want to shell out. I've seen that in other industries where people who own companies in certain industries, I'm not going to say what industries, the guys at the top are making tons and tons and tons of money, and they're happy. But if it drops a little bit, they're like, but something's off.
Yeah.
Sure is. I think we're gonna see in a couple of weeks how all this is gonna play out. So once contest 1 and 2 get through, I think we'll hear more about what's actually going on in the surf industry a little bit. It's gonna be interesting. I hope they get a cyclone, because I want giant blue barrels and Sharky water.
Blue barrels and Sharky water. There we go. That's that should be the title of this, huh?
Pretty good.
Well, I think we'll leave it at that. We've been going for quite a little bit. Gentlemen, I appreciate it. As always, everyone at home, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And we will be back later in the week. I am obviously not up in Lake George this week. So here we are. They will not have ice apparently past this week. So there's your little Lake George.
I should have bet you, because what you were saying last time, like, they're going to have ice to May. To May, they're saying.
No, they have
no way in hell.
So they're not going to have ice fishing. There's still going to be ice on the lake for quite a while.
Won't be thick enough.
It won't be thick enough to fish on. So that'll be the problem. And to think about it, actually, I drove past the lake locally here, and there was still ice on it. I would not go skating on it. I would not even touch it with my feet for fear of falling through, because they're apparently on Lake Capacon this past weekend. Sister-in-law's boyfriend's family lives up there, said that they were watching this. Guy was riding his quad, and the quad just fell half through the ice. The guy was fine, but it took like better part of a day for the fire department to come out and try and pull this guy's quad off the ice and out of the water.
Good times.
So, be smart.
You all make fun of us down south. You guys got guys running across quads on thin ice.
Yeah, well,
hey, Ricky, watch this.
Ricky Bobby. Well, we'll leave on that, gentlemen. Always a pleasure.
Later.
Later.